Hello everyone, Tina here. I hope your day is going wonderful. Thank you so much for joining me. Well, today we're going to create some projects using the Hero Arts, my monthly hero kit for March 2022. We're going to take a look at this lovely kit and then we are going to jump in and get to creating. Your kits always come in this vinyl pouch, which I have been loving. It's like the perfect size. Take some stuff out. Okay, this is your stamp set. You get two large like splatter images. One's actually a little bit smaller than the other. And then you get 4 sentiments in your stamp set. I love stamps like this because sky is the limit. You can do almost anything with these splatters. I like to even color in flowers with them. You know, if you stamp with your black ink and then want just a little bit of color in your background, break out your splatters and do a little stamping with that and it creates some quick, easy cards. But the sentiments in here are very unique. You're a masterpiece. I see so much in you. I love you for being uniquely you. And the last one is, you are so much more that meets the eye. So that is your stamp set. It's a 4x6 this month. And then you also get your fancy die. This one is called the Museum Window Die. And it will cut out an A2 size panel along with the frame. So the inside of this will pop out. You'll see when I create my card. So it's pretty neat. That is your die this month. Now also you included this month are some canvas cardstock sheets. You get a 8.5 by 5.5 inch sheet of canvas paper. This one is thinner, but it has a little bit of texture to it. Then you also get these 2 thick 4.25 by 5.5 inch canvas paper sheets. So these are extra thick. So you get 2 of those. And then you get an embossing and watermark ink. And also, last but not least, now I opened these up already and I wanted to play with them for a little bit, but you get 4 embossing powders. Now this one is Golden Rod. It looks orange, but it's like a orangey yellow. And then you get the blue, really pretty blue. This one almost has a pearly tint to it. And then you get a purple. And then you also get the orange. Now the orange I would say is more of a reddy orange. So those are your embossing powders. So we have a lot of fun elements in the kit this month. I am going to put this aside and let's jump in and create some cards. Okay, we're going to start by doing our first card. We are going to do a little bit of stamping. I have 4 panels that are all the same size. 3 of them I'll do off camera, but I'm going to show you how to do one, and then I'll do the same to the rest of them. This measures 2 and 3/4 inches by 3 and 3/4 inches. I'm going to lightly tack this to my Misty. This is my mini Misty actually. And then we're going to take, there's 2 different kinds of splatters. You have a fuller one and then I'll call this a smaller one. We're going to take our smaller one. We're going to place it on our panel. And we are going to ink this up with black ink. I'm using my Hero Arts Intense Black ink. And we will go ahead and stamp this on our panel. I'm going to stamp it one more time to get that dark. And we're going to keep this out because we're going to use this once more, but we're going to bring in our largest. Just going to place it here, kind of centering it on our panel. I'm going to pick it up with the lid of my Misty, and then with this I'm going to use our watermark ink that came with the kit. I'm going to go over, and then I'm going to treat my paper with my anti-static powder tool, and then we'll stamp this right over our black ink. And then I'll pick up my panel and I'm going to use our purple. Ooh, that's not good. I'm going to go over our panel with purple. tap off the excess. I'm going to funnel our embossing powder back into our bag. And then I'm going to use my heat gun and we'll melt this. Okay, once my panel is all melted, we're going to go ahead and put this back in our stamping positioner. Make sure it's cool. And then I'm going to remove my large splatter. I'm going to go back in with my smaller splatter, kind of centering it. And then we're going to ink this up one more time with our watermark ink. Press down real good. And then we're going to take this panel and I'm going to bring in some gold embossing powder. We're going to cover it. And then there we have gold, purple, and gold, purple, and black. Now I'm going to do the same thing with the rest of my colors, with my orange, and my blue, and my golden rod. Okay, so I have 4 different colors, with all the colors of embossing powder in here, doing the exact same thing as I did with my purple. Now what we're going to do is trim each one of these into quarters, and then I'm going to create a panel that is that has one of each color on there. So I'm bringing in my paper trimmer, and we're going to just trim this in half. And then we'll trim it in half once more. And I'm doing it this way because I'm afraid I will won't be able to line it up. So this is just easier for me. And then we have quarters of our nice artwork. And I'm going to do the same thing with the rest of these. Okay, now that I have all 4 of my panels quartered, we're going to have lots left over, but no worries. I have a piece of gold cardstock, and we're going to layer all of these together, starting with the purple. We're going to add this to the very bottom of our gold cardstock. And then I'm going to take the next one, the next color, which will be our orange. I'm going to go ahead and put this right next to our purple. The pattern should line up perfectly. Then I'll take my blue, and then our pattern is put back together, only we have 4 different colors. I'm going to use my paper trimmer. We'll trim these so I have a little bit of border on this. And then I'm going to take some black cardstock, and we're going to mat it on some black cardstock as well, just using my tape runner. Okay, we're going to line this up here, and then we are going to stamp here. And I'm going to take another 1/4 inch off of my panel. So my panel will be 3 3/4 inches wide by 5.5 inches. Let's line this up. Okay, I'm going to flip around my panel, and using my tape runner, we're going to adhere this to our A2 size card base. And this is going to go straight down the center. And then I have release paper. I'll just remove that, and then we'll add our masterpiece. And then that will finish off project number 1. Okay, for my next project, we're going to do a little bit of die cutting with our fancy die. Okay, I'm going to take my fancy background and I'm going to die cut it out with black cardstock, white cardstock, and gold. And then I have this little piece of purple because I want a purple bench that this lady is sitting on. And so I'm just going to place it behind that bench, and then I'll just run this piece through. So just so I can use that purple bench. So when I'm done die cutting, I'll be right back. Okay, I went ahead and ran everything through my die cut machine. First, what we're going to do is we're going to punch out our inside of our artwork. We're going to remove that, and then I'm going to flip this panel over, and we're going to add some foam tape behind here. Okay, I have foam tape behind our museum window here. Now I'll set that aside, and then what we're going to do is I want the silhouette of the lady and the gentleman over here. Now Hero Arts made it really easy to snip this apart. So you just use your scissors and just snip. I think the gentleman only has is only connected by 4 snips. So that makes it really nice. She's held there by 4 snips also. So there's her. Now, the lady is sitting down and her legs are separate. So I'm going to snip those too. So we have the silhouette of our lady's legs. Now I'm going to set this one aside, and then I'm going to take our bench and cut that out as well. Very easy again to do. Just a couple snips. Okay, we have our bench. The bench was a little tricky. There's actually 2 layers of the bench, but we got it done. And then we have our gold, and I'm going to just use the frame. So we're going to snip around the frame. I'm going to use my larger scissors for this. Now there is a tiny frame around the larger frame, and I'm going to just cut the super thin frame also. We're going to keep that intact, and we are good to go. We have a pretty gold frame to go around our artwork. Now what we're going to do is take our silhouette. I'm going to use my tape runner, and we're going to adhere our silhouette to our gold cardstock. The bottom half of the body will overhang, and that's okay. We're going to pop that up with some foam adhesive. But we'll do the same thing to the top of our lady. And then this is good to go. Now on our white panel, I'm going to use some glue, and we're going to add our bench and our legs of our lady. I went ahead and put foam adhesive behind my gold frame. We're just going to remove the release paper, and then before I add it, I do want to add some small pieces of foam to our gentleman's legs here, because that's going to be overhanging. And so I'll just add a piece of foam tape right here. Then we can flip over our frame, and we'll add it right over the existing one, and everything should just line up beautifully. Okay, now I'm going to set this aside, and now we're going to work on our background. Background is going to be very easy to do. I have a piece of white cardstock here, and in our stamp set we have our splatters. I'm going to just create a splatter background, kind of doing a little bit of overlapping, and I'm just going to use my acrylic block. I'm going to use half of it. Once we have our frame adhered, I'm going to go ahead and take my watermark ink and my largest splatter. We're going to ink this up, and then I'm going to basically fill in this entire background, and then I'm also going to do another full panel of white cardstock, but I'll do that afterwards. Add our watermark ink. I'll use my scratch paper And we'll add our blue. The nice thing about embossing powders is they overlap. I'll melt this. And I stamped it once more, but this time we're going to use let's use our goldenrod. And I'll go ahead and melt this one. Another ink. This time I'm using the smaller one. And then we'll add our purple. And I'll melt this. And then while I have the purple out, I'm gonna stamp one more time in this corner, kind of overlapping. And I'm gonna go over it with the rest of my purple here. So we're kind of overlapping a little bit. This one we will use our orange. And then I think I'm going to add a little bit of orange on this side. So let's ink up the larger one. Okay, I think that looks good. I think we're good. I'm going to continue on, and I'm going to do the same thing to my larger panel while I have all of this out. Okay, I did my larger panel almost the same way. Now with this panel, I'm going to set this aside for another card, but I do want to put this away here. And then our little work of art is going to go behind our picture frame here. So let's use our tape runner and take our card base. We'll add this to our background. And then I can remove the release paper. And I'm going to add one more piece behind our guy because I'm afraid he'll sink in a little bit. Now we're going to add our cover plate panel. Now before I call this card finished, I do want to die cut out a heart for in here, and then I'm also going to take the U that is in the Luggage tag alphabet die set. I'm going to die cut it out with some gold cardstock, and also I'll die cut it out with some fun foam. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and remove. I used fun foam that had it was adhesive backed. So what we're going to do is just remove the release paper off of the back of our U, and then I'll add that to the center of our heart. And then I'll remove the release paper and then add my gold U right on top. Good deal. I'm going to go ahead and flip this around, and then I will pop it up with some foam adhesive. And then I will place this in our artwork right in the center. And then I already stamped I See So Much in You, and then I fishtailed the ends. I stamped it with my intense black ink. I put adhesive behind it, and then this is going to go in the center of our heart. And that will complete card number 2. Something a little bit different, I think. Okay, for my next card, I think we're going to add a little gold to this one. So I'm going to bring back my splatters. I'll use the large one. I'm going to put it on a bigger acrylic block here. And then I'm going to go over it with my watermark ink. And I'm going to basically go maybe at a diagonal with this. So we might have to stamp it twice. So let's go ahead and ink this up. Press down really good. There's lots of layers on this panel. So we will go over this with gold embossing powder. And I'll use my heat gun and we'll melt this also. And you can really see the textures through that gold. I think one's plenty. Okay, now while that's drying, I'm going to go ahead and stamp my sentiment. I'm going to stamp it on some black cardstock. We're going to stamp I love you for being uniquely you. And I'm going to use my watermark ink. And then I'm going to go over this with white embossing powder. And we'll use the heat gun and melt this. Once I blocked off my sentiment, I'm going to go ahead and pop it up with some foam tape. And then I did die cut out a heart for this card. I'm going to add some foam adhesive behind here. And then we'll just remove the release paper and then add this to our card front. I went ahead and trimmed off the excess of my heart that was overhanging. We're going to adhere this to our card base. We heat embossed that quite a bit, but I'm impressed that it didn't warp too bad. Okay, now I'm going to take my sentiment. I'm just going to remove the release paper. And I might have to add a little bit more on this side because this is going to overhang. And then we'll just add this to the bottom of our card. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and finish off this card. I'm going to be using some liquid pearls. This is gold pearl. And I'm going to make sure that I haven't used these in a while. Let's see if they still work. Oh, pretty. Yes. So I'm just going to add a few drops. Where are we going to put them here? I think that looks good. I'm going to tap it. And I think that looks really good. Although those pearls don't look very pretty. Let's see if I can redo these. Okay. Let's tap it a little. Flatten them just a bit. And I think that was just what that needed. And then these are the projects that I made today. Actually, I'm going to add a few pearls to this one too, because it's kind of got a little bit of a boring front. And this will give it some dimension. Tap this one down a little bit. And then those are my projects today using the Hero Arts My Monthly Hero Kit for March. My little masterpieces. Thank you so much for joining me. Have a lovely rest of your day, and we will see you soon.